everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be another episode of a darker side of history, but I'm kind of taking a break from that today because it's kind of gotten a little heavy, and I want to do something a little different and something maybe a little fun. I had promised last week that I would possibly be telling my ghost story today. Well, one of many ghost stories. So, I am going to do a get ready with me makeup look and talk about my ghost story, about some of the things that's been happening in my house here recently. Okay, I think I am going to do some type of blue, maybe smoky eye look. I've already done my face prep. I already used my eyeshadow primer, which, by the way, this is some really, really good stuff if you don't want your makeup to move. Alright, so now getting into my ghost story. We have lived here in this house for, I want to say, about a little over a year. And weird things happen. We never really thought too much about some of the weird stuff that happened. Well, then come, Halloween, I guess? Not too long after an aunt had passed away, and a friend of mine would come to the house, and she said she was kind of sensitive to these kind of things, and so she kind of felt that there was something here, but she didn't really know what was here. She had got to talking to me saying, you're gonna think I'm crazy. And I'm like, I'm not gonna think you're crazy. And she's like, there's a woman here. She's showing herself as being young, like in her 20s. And she's got this dark hair, these big glasses, and one of her favorite things to say is ditto. Well, this friend had known my grandmother quite before she died. She was actually quite a bigger woman and very healthy when this friend knew her. But when she was mentioning the glasses, the dark hair, and the ditto, my grandparents from this side of the family didn't really say I love you a lot. It was more ditto. So I knew that a family member had posted a picture of my grandmother when she was a lot younger, and I looked that up really quick, and I showed the picture to my friend, and sure enough, she's like, yeah, that's the woman that's here. And I'm like, oh, okay, wonderful. So my grandma is here, and she apparently is like my guardian angel or something. I don't know. But anyway, she said that, and my grandpa passed away almost 2 years ago, and she said that he's in and out of the house, which I kind of already had suspected. But then she said there was an older woman, and she kind of had a feeling that there was also another man here too. And not to really mess with the paranormal. Well, I was kind of stupid and decided I was going to download one of those ghost box apps and try to ask questions and try to, just kind of figure out who or what was here. So anyway, I downloaded this and I asked, who's here? Who's here with us? And my son was actually in on it with me. And clear as day through this ghost box thing, it says Obi, which is my grandpa, who had passed away almost 2 years ago. And my son asked, why are you here? Why aren't you, checking in on grandma? And then it says, I do. So, yeah, I was legit, kind of freaked out by it. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's my grandpa. It's really not that big of a deal. So then, come to find out, my aunt had passed, and she had given me a bunch of stuff because I like to crochet and things like that. So she actually had given me a whole bunch of yarn and stuff like that, and I ended up getting some clothes. And I also have some of her ashes. So come to find out, apparently she's here too. And shortly after she passed, I remember one morning getting up. I was in the shower, and I know I had closed the bathroom door. I get out of the shower, and all of a sudden, I watch my bathroom door swing open. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you freaking kidding me right now? So anyway, I watched my bathroom door swing open. And I'm like, this is bizarre. And then there was another night where my son was actually... I done messed up. My son actually was playing with the dogs, and my bedroom door had been closed. And it's kind of hard to close and to open it because I have like a clothes rack over the top of it. So he's playing with the dogs. The door's fully closed. All of a sudden, I look over, and my bedroom door's starting to come open. And I'm like, me and my son just kind of looked at each other like, what was that? What was that? So we didn't think too much of it. And then, of course, Halloween came. And our house was just like alive. We couldn't sleep. It was just, there were so many noises going on in the house. The dogs kept going off. And they say that animals can sense things really easily. So my dogs kept going off. They kept acting crazy. And I'm like, what the heck? We couldn't sleep at all that night. Well, then it just, I don't know, it seemed to kind of slow down a bit for a little while. But then a couple weeks ago, my son was here alone. I was at work. And he only goes to school 2 days a week, so he's home the rest of the time. So I'm at work. We get home, and he starts telling me about, he had made some waffles, and he was waiting. He heard the toaster pop to get the waffles, and he said he was looking out his bedroom door, which is actually the one you can usually see in my mirror when it's closed. That's his door, and it's attached to the kitchen. And he's seen a black shadow go across the kitchen. Okay, that's quite a bit weird. But I'm thinking, he's home alone, overactive imagination. I knew we were already having some paranormal experiences in the house. I just didn't want to think so much about it because I don't want to be afraid to be in my own home. So anyway, that happened. And then today, I'm at work again. And my son sends a text about 8, 9 o'clock this morning. And he asked, he's like, Mom, are you at work? And I'm like, yeah, why? And he's like, I heard your bedroom closet doors opening and closing. And I'm like, what? So I go out and call him, and he's like, yeah, your closets in the bedroom were opening and closing. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me right now. There's no way. So I'm like, no. We live in the woods. There's animals. We hear animals scurrying over our roof all the time because we also have an earth home, and it literally butts up to the property in the ground, and things can get on and off the roof all the time. I try not to think too much into it. Well, then later he calls, And I answer, and I have a shelf over here with my stuff on it. And he said he was hearing the closet doors opening and closing again. But then this time, he heard a huge crash. And when he came out, I had a ceramic princess thing up here that had markers and stuff in it. And he came out of the bedroom, and all of my markers and stuff were laying on the table, but that ceramic thing was on the floor, broken into pieces. And we don't know how that happened. So he was freaking out quite a bit by all this because, you know, he's a kid. He doesn't know what's going on. He's home by himself. He's thinking, you know, the house is just haunted, is basically what he's thinking. So I get it, and I know he's scared, and I'm actually starting to get a little afraid too, being in the house, because, you know, my friend had said that it's not just my family that's in and out, that there's this woman that's in and out as well, and she wasn't particularly happy about us being here. So I had tried to do some research on our property that we live at. We're actually just renting. And I tried to do some research on it. And when I was doing research, I couldn't really find anything. It was saying that the house that was here was like over 1,200 square foot. And it had like an extra bedroom that this one doesn't have. It was just really weird. And it stated that the house was built in 1954. Well, our house is just concrete, and we know for a fact it wasn't built in 1954. You can just tell by the concrete work. But where our carport is, you can clearly see where there used to be a foundation to another home, and there's even black and like white tiles still stuck to the bottom of this concrete foundation, and you can see where the, I guess, what is that called?
The posts.
The posts that, you know, held the house up. You can tell that they had cut those down. So we were thinking that it's possible that there was a house here other than this one, and I guess it must have been too bad to keep up, so they got rid of it and they started building this. The only problem is, like I said, it's an earth home. It's all concrete. I don't think they were meaning for it to be that. I think they had planned on either building a home here on top of what we're living in, and this was to be the basement, or they were going to move in a modular home to put here. But either way it goes, I don't know. I can't find the information. So I don't know exactly what used to be here or what. I cannot confirm or deny anything. I just know that the house that was described, but no pictures, doesn't match the description of the house that we live in, on top of the fact we know that this one wasn't built in 1954. So, anyway, it's all weird. Oh, that actually looks good. Honey. I'm not overly fond of this makeup palette because it's a little splotchy. It's not, like, it doesn't look that bad on camera, but when I look at it in my mirror, it's really splotchy. Anyway, okay. I have other ghost stories. Give me just a minute. Okay, basically all I did was did my concealer, which it's working. I might have to add just a smidge more, but we should be good. Okay, back to ghost stories. That is the most recent thing that's happened in my house here lately, which is a little crazy and a little scary, but honestly, I've never really felt threatened by anything in the house. The worst that's happened was something getting broken, which I have no clue how it fell, why it fell, what happened. I don't honestly know. So anyway, now the very first ghost story that I have also includes me, but is from when I was really little, and I don't quite remember what had happened. This story had basically just been told to me, and by my parents, who actually witnessed it firsthand. So apparently, shortly after my parents got married, I was like 3, and they rented this apartment in like the Barnhart area or something, and they wanted to, I guess them and a couple friends or something wanted to play with an Ouija board. I highly don't recommend playing with an Ouija board. Honestly, I highly don't recommend playing with any of the paranormal stuff unless you truly want something paranormal going on in your house. Because I honestly believe that if it wasn't for me playing with the Ghost app, things wouldn't be so amped up right now. I feel like that is my fault. And I don't think I'm going to do it again. So, anyway, with that being said, I highly do not recommend playing with the paranormal unless you're really willing to have something happen to you. So don't do it. So don't do it. Anyway, don't play with an Ouija board. So anyway, my parents said they played with this Ouija board, and shortly after, weird things started happening in the apartment. And it all seemed to be very child related. Like it was kids doing it. And mind you, I'm 3, but at the time, I was also still in a crib. So it's not like some of these things I could actually get out and do. So they said one morning they woke up and heard water running in the bathroom. So they go into the bathroom, and sure enough, the water was running. The shower curtain had been pulled down from where it was at. And there were it was all carpet, and there were little wet footprints running across the carpet. And they automatically assumed, oh, it's Jessica. She's doing it. So they went and checked on me. I was still in bed. I was still asleep. It was not me. So anyway, that happened. And then there were other times where like the stove would mysteriously come on. I would sit and talk to somebody. It was very, very out there, very weird. Now, they told me that there was one day I was sitting on the couch and I was having a conversation with someone, and what do you think? But they couldn't figure out who it was. So I'm having this conversation, just random conversation. And then they ask me, who are you talking to? And I said, oh, I'm just talking to Bobby and Susie. But it's okay. They're not here anymore. They're gone now. This is 3 years old. Talking to some ghost kids. So they had went and did some type of research on the property and trying to figure out who this Bobby and Susie was. And come to find out, at one point, a single mom lived there with her kids. And she went through a huge mental break, apparently, at one point, and she hung her children in this apartment, killed them, and then I think it was like a suicide. And then she ended up killing herself. Which was very sad. But it proved that there was a Bobby and Susie that lived there. That's all there was to that. Very creepy. My parents still tell me this story to this day. I'm not entirely sure why, because I don't quite remember. I don't really remember what happened, but that's just how it went. So, okay, now, that's the story about here. That's the story about an apartment I used to live in. This actually looks good. Now I just need to I'm going to try and do some contour maybe. I've never really done contour, never really played with it. So we're going to try that. So anyway, another quick ghost story that I have is also surrounded by my grandparents. They bought a house and some property in the country. It was called Elsinore. No! Sorry. Dropped my thing. Anyway, they bought a house and some property in this place called Elsinore. So, okay, I've never done contour before. I'm just taking a gander here. I basically know where things need to go, but we'll see. Anyway, they bought this house. I was in I want to say maybe third grade. Beautiful piece of property. Beautiful house. Very gorgeous. We'll just put it that way. It was basically bought for the guys to go hunt. I don't know if I'm doing this right. Let me know in the comments below. But anyway, the family really loved it. But it wasn't long after buying the property that things started happening. Just little random things. Like, well, I guess that worked. Kind of defined my nose a little more. I kind of like that. Okay, anyway, the house was, it was beautiful. I'm trying to think of something here. I'm getting a little off track. I have a hard time literally like doing this and talking at the same time. But anyway, there was one weekend that me and my parents were there, and I was always creeped out by the basement. Just always creeped out by the basement. I hated it. And that's where we slept. See, they had the upstairs, which only had one bedroom in this whole house. So they had upstairs. And it only had the one bedroom. But it was like a massive living room, dining room, kitchen combo. It was like an open floor plan. And then you had steps that led down to a full finished basement, which there was no bedrooms down there either. There was like this huge massive walk-in closet, but that was basically it. Okay, so back to what I was saying. It basically, I don't even know at this point. I don't even know. I'm lost. I am so lost in what I was saying. I keep getting distracted because I've got a lot of stuff going on right now around me. And I know everybody is trying to be really quiet. But, anyway. So, we always slept in the basement. Me and my siblings... shared a bed downstairs. We didn't like not sleeping together because the basement just freaked us out that much. And I would always leave the TV on because I was just afraid of the basement. So, my dad said that he had come downstairs, which I didn't know any of this had happened because I just, I was sleeping and he didn't tell us till the next day because I didn't hear anything. So anyway, he said he came downstairs to check on us to make sure we were asleep before he went to bed. Which is, that's usually what parents do, right? And then he said he walked back upstairs and he felt like something was watching him. So, he felt like something was watching him. So he turned back around and he claims that he's seen 3 kids, excuse me, standing at the bottom of the stairs in like period clothing. Okay, that's a little freaky, Dad. I was freaked out when he told us this story. Then, I was a teenager by this point. Then I was sleeping in this twin bed that was like literally close to the bottom of the stairs. And you couldn't see the stairs where the bed was at. I mean, it was all enclosed in. I really wish I had pictures. But it was all closed in. And I heard something. We had other family there. My mom was already in bed. My aunt and uncle were out in the camper sleeping. And then my dad was out there with them. At least that's what he said he was. So I hear something come down the stairs. And then I heard something run back up the stairs. And I'm a little freaked out. And I'm like, okay, my dad already knows that this scares the crap out of me, being in this basement. And now he's just trying to mess with me. He's just being an ass, basically. So I get up to confront him. And I go outside. And I look around. And I'm like, okay, I do not see him anywhere. So I ended up going to the camper, and I'm like, were you just in the house running up and down the stairs? Because it just woke me up. No, I've been out here the whole time. And everybody vouched for him being outside. And I'm like, oh, okay, great, lovely. So he comes in, checks everything out, everything's okay. I go back to sleep. But then later on down the road, we ended up moving into a mobile home at the top of the hill of the house. And a lot of times I would have to go down to the main house to do laundry. Which sucked, because a lot of times I had to do it in the middle of the night, and I was already afraid of the house, just afraid of the dark, afraid of everything coming out and trying to kill me. Which nothing ever did, but still, I was still afraid of it. And the house always just creeped me out. It always seemed like something was watching me, that it was just, it creeped me out. So anyway, another uncle came to stay, and he was sleeping in the only bedroom upstairs. And I remember when I was younger that my grandma's mom had passed away, and she had inherited a bunch of furniture from her mom. And the bed set that was in their room was one of the things that they had. Well, my uncle had come down and stayed the weekend. And it was the last night he was supposed to be there. And I remember him coming up to the house the next morning before he was leaving, and he was completely freaked out by something. So we were all like, what the heck happened? He said that in the middle of the night, he was having a hard time sleeping. And he kept hearing the chair move in the living room. And he ended up getting up and turning the bathroom light on, and it ended up being, he's seen like feet at the bottom of this chair. Mind you, the chair was turned so he couldn't see what was sitting in it, but he like seen the feet, and he seen the chair just steadily moving, and it like really freaked him out. So he left the bathroom light on, went in the bedroom and shut the door, and tried his best to go back to sleep the rest of the night. And said, I am never staying in this house by myself again. Never doing it. And to this day, that man has never stayed in that house by himself. I've had other cousins who've come down and stayed and said that they've seen weird things. They've seen weird lights, weird shadows. I mean, this house was newly built. It really wasn't that old to begin with, but it creeped a lot of people out. So, I mean, it was just a creepy house. But when I was doing research on the town, the county, the history of everything, I mean, it said, and my house is literally in between Elsinore and Van Buren. So, literally in between those two places. And there was a railway that went through there at one point. There was all kinds of stuff. It wasn't just, you know, a house sitting in the middle of the random woods. There was a lot of history. There was a couple Civil War skirmishes. It wasn't actually like battles. They were just little skirmishes. A couple people had been killed and such, but it wasn't, you know, huge. Anyway, this is the look. I think it actually turned out pretty good. It actually looks pretty flawless compared to normal. Oh shoot. Alright, there's the look. And those are just some of the ghost stories that I have from what's happened here at my house to some things that I've experienced growing up. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. And please hit like and subscribe and let me know in the comments down below if you liked it, what you want to talk about next week, what you know, anything. I'm working on this huge project for the next couple of weeks. It's another darker side of history about homes for unwed mothers that were very, very popular in the early 1900s and gained even more popularity come the 50s and 60s. I'm working on this huge project. There's just a lot to it, and I haven't gotten very far on it, but that's what I'm working on at the moment. So I'm hoping to get started on that for next week. So anyway, this is the look. I actually kind of like it. I'm actually really liking it. I don't know about the lipstick though. But anyway, that is all for today. I hope you liked. Please hit the like button and the subscribe button. Please subscribe to my channel. I know this video was a little kind of all over the place, but anyway, this is it. I will see you all next week. Bye, y'all.